Unbelievable news today. Perhaps we finally figured out why Bitcoin's price is crashing. Jeffrey Epstein has been linked to Bitcoin. Jeffrey Epstein was much more involved in Bitcoin than most people think. Send this video to somebody who needs to hear it. We need to get this information out there. A death cross is happening soon. But is it bullish? Because newsflash, bull markets don't end like this. And the chart looks bad, yes, but the month isn't over. There is a huge opportunity to buy fear right now. Extreme fear. Yet, it is still unbelievable what we've just uncovered. Smash the like button if you appreciate us keeping you informed on crypto every day of the week. Let's talk about exactly how Jeffrey Epstein is linked to Bitcoin. So, first of all, how did we get this information? Why is everybody reporting on this information, and is it credible? Well, it was the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, often called the House Oversight Committee. They released 23,000 pages of documents from Epstein's estate. These emails, messages, and documents have never been released to the public before, and it's insane what some people are reporting is in them. So let's start here. So first of all, in brief, TLDR, emails show that Jeffrey Epstein sought Steve Bannon's help navigating and shaping U.S. crypto tax and regulatory policy in 2018. So he was actually pushing for regulation. Epstein framed crypto as both a domestic tax issue and a global concern, urging Treasury to take action. Very interesting, he was trying to shape policy, probably because it seems like he owned some Bitcoin quite a bit, considering he was so early. Newly released documents portray him as actively engaged in early crypto policy debates, ranging from tax policy to Facebook or Meta's failed stablecoin project Libra. Yep, these are issues that people were talking about at that time for sure. What people weren't talking about, something which is news to me, is if this is true, and it seems like it is factually based, Epstein was around in very, very early days for Bitcoin. New. Epstein emails reveal that cryptocurrency entrepreneur Brock Pierce, co-founder of stablecoin issuer Tether, discussed Bitcoin with former U.S. Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, he was under Bill Clinton, I believe, at Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan house. According to the emails, Pierce described himself as the most active investor in Bitcoin, while Summers expressed cautious interest, noting reputational risk from the market's volatility. So one, Epstein was hanging around, he was rubbing elbows with some of Bitcoin's earliest and most active investors. And also it's been revealed that he was actively funding Bitcoin core development. And look what happened to price. There were warning signs throughout the past years, and nobody listened. When everything is revealed, grown men will cry like babies. I believe this guy's name is Dan Pena.
If you knew who was really behind Bitcoin, you would run as fast as you fucking could to sell it. I know. 100%. If you knew who owned Bitcoin or who started Bitcoin, you had Bitcoin, you couldn't sleep at night. I know. 100%. And when the real founder of Bitcoin comes out, it is my humble opinion, and there's nothing humble about me, Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
Then I've also seen reports of this. Epstein emails reveal he met with Satoshi at a climate summit in 2014. You can pause the screen and read this exact email, but it seems that Epstein was planning to attend an event and was going to be meeting with Satoshi among other people at the event. Please let me know if this email is confirmed in the 23,000 email discovery. Please let me know if this email is actually a part of this, if we can confirm this story. Now, beyond that, with Bitcoin's price sinking so low, $94,000, let's talk about the death cross, which is about to happen. We're days away. We saw a death cross back in early 2025. We saw a death cross back in 2024. We saw one in 2023. Now, a death cross happens every time the 50-day moving average slips below the 200 moving average. This type of metric typically indicates things in the short term are bearish. I mean, you can see when it happened here in 2025, Bitcoin bottomed. You can see when it happened here in 2024, it was shortly after a bottom. And here in 2023, Bitcoin had bottomed. So despite all of this interesting news, I'll say it, there is fear in the air, extreme fear. The last time we had this much fear was the April bottom of earlier 2025. Interesting. So the last time the death crosses happened, we saw a 195% increase, 125% increase, 70% increase, with a diminishing return, let's say just 35% increase. Bitcoin would be at $130,000 by May of 2026. Now, thinking long-term, obviously, we all understand that Bitcoin long-term can only go in one direction. As Tom Lee says here, Bitcoin has become a $2 trillion asset. Never in financial history has anything reached $2 trillion and disappeared. Ignore it at your own risk.
I think that it's probably better to just observe a few things. One is Bitcoin has now been around for 15 years, and there has not been a Bitcoin 2.0. So there's no crypto 2.0. This is Bitcoin is the surviving chain, and Bitcoin has become a $2 trillion asset, which never in history, financial history, has anything reached $2 trillion and then disappeared. So we're not. It's a different argument if it was $100 billion.
Okay.
The third is the U.S. government is reiterated its commitment to make Bitcoin a strategic reserve asset. That's not bad for the price of Bitcoin. So if someone is watching this and said, well, they don't understand Bitcoin, so they decide not to own it, it's a catastrophic way to look at market.
And by the way, even in the short term, Tom Lee is predicting Bitcoin makes new highs by the end of this year and Ethereum new highs by the end of this year.
I mean, if I look at everything since October 10th, because that was the biggest liquidation in the history of crypto, like bigger than FTX.
Like a margin call almost.
Yeah, it was like almost a miniature rupture, like a tsunami. We're only a couple weeks from that, so I think the market is consolidating. But if I look at fundamentals, like Ethereum, stablecoin volumes have been exploding, application revenues at all-time highs. So right now, fundamentals are leading price in crypto. So I think eventually we consolidate and then we rally into year end.
There, 150?
Yeah, I think we could still get to 150, 200 for Bitcoin, and then something like 7,000 for Ethereum.
Look at this. Breaking news, whales are loading up on Bitcoin on this dip. Loading up in a way like we haven't seen since April of 2025. Michael Saylor tweets, "We bought Bitcoin every day this week." Institutions are not feeling fear. They're a different class of buyer. Institutions are still betting on crypto even after the October crash. 61% plan to increase exposure going forward. 15% are entering for the first time going forward. 73% cite long-term growth potential. And we know by mid next year, rates are probably going to be as close to zero as they're probably ever going to get for a long time based on what Trump wants the new Fed chair to do going forward. Either way, math doesn't lie. Billionaire Ron Barron just spelled it out in the simplest way possible. Money loses 4 to 5% of its value every year from inflation, while the economy grows at about 2% a year. That's roughly 7% erosion plus growth, which means price double about every decade while cash keeps falling behind. If money is melting, you have to own assets that outrun inflation. That's why Bitcoin has crushed every major asset over the last decade. When the system inflates, Bitcoin protects.
Yeah, so I think about the stock market and the economy basically doubling every 10 or 12 years. And that's what's happened for my entire lifetime. Everything doubles every 10 or 12 years. So what has to happen is the value of your money falls 4 or 5% a year. That's inflation. Falls 4 or 5% a year, and the economic growth has been about 2% a year. So it's about 7% a year growth, and that means everything doubles in 10 years. The value of your money falls in half every 15 years. So you got to make twice what you're making today in 15 years to stay even. And so stock market, so Bitcoin's been amazing, obviously.
Yes, the chart looks bad right now, just like back here the chart looked bad. Was this the top? Well, newsflash, bull markets don't end like this, writes Ran Nooner. I've been around for multiple bull and bear markets, 2001.com, 2008 housing, 2017 crypto, 2021 crypto, etc., etc. When bull markets end, either something breaks or belief in the asset market crumbles. In 2001, people really doubted the internet. In 2008, the system broke. In 2017, people doubted whether Bitcoin would ever be accepted. In 2021, people thought crypto was fraud, questioned whether anything in crypto would work. Here we are in 2025. Bitcoin is being adopted by governments, blockchains are being adopted by institutions, and world markets are all at all-time highs, with more liquidity on the way. No government can tighten right now, and for all intents and purposes, nothing is broken. We have had a 25% correction, as is normal for any Bitcoin cycle, even this one, and now sentiment is bottomed. New hands are fearful, and funding rates have finally turned negative. Now you have a choice to make. Are you buying in the same conditions that have made millionaires so many times, or are you bear posting for clout? I know what I'm doing. All in. And by the way, Michael Saylor actually agrees with Ran Nooner. He just told Grant Cardone Bitcoin's bottom is in, the 4-year cycle is dead, and TradFi Capital dwarfs everything else going forward. My name is Aaron at Altcoin Daily. Subscribe to our channel, join our team. See you tomorrow.
How low you think Bitcoin goes in this cycle right here? If it goes any lower, where does it go?
I think it's pretty stable where it is right now. Yeah. I mean, most of the liquidation selling is out of the system. I think we should rally from here.
And then where do you think it ends?
I don't believe in 4-year cycles anyway. I mean,
I never believed in the 4-year cycle.
I think that they might have had some credence in the first 12 years, but right now, the 4-year cycle is somehow based on the idea that 225 Bitcoin a day get taken out of the supply after the next halving. That's $22 million or $20 million of buying. Trust me, $20 million of buying. The market traded $100 billion yesterday. 20 million is not even a third order issue at this point.
Yeah.
The dynamics in the market are much more that, Jerome Powell thinks he wants to hold interest rates higher for longer, right? It's macroeconomics, it's political, it's structural. When IBIT's derivatives market went from 10 billion to 50 billion, it did that in 4 weeks. I mean, so those kind of things, when JP Morgan, offers 10 or 100 billion dollars of loans against Bitcoin, that will dwarf the 4-year cycle. It's the actions of the mega finance actors that are determining the future of Bitcoin right now, and all the fundamentals are good. So my advice to anybody is, first of all, if you make decisions with a 12-month or less time frame, you're a trader.
Yeah.
If you're a trader, you're a trader. I have zero advice for you.
Right.
I'm not a trader. I'm not a good trader.
Yeah.
I don't purport to be. I have zero advice for you. On the other hand, if you're an entrepreneur or if you're an investor, you should have a time frame of 4 years or longer, 4 to 10 years,